You know, because a lot of people in the world might say, this doesn't concern you. This is not your citizens. This is not your problem. But Aquinas talks about punishing a state for the wrongs inflicted by those within it when that state refuses to do so. And he does not say punishing a state for the wrongs inflicted when it's your citizens who are being wronged. Okay.
But how would you then apply that situation to, say, Lebanon, where the state is incapable of dealing with the bad guys within its borders?
I'm
Are
glad
they
you
still going to be attacked?
This is what I wrote a paper on, so I'm so glad you asked. This is
Put the paper on the
huge.
web too.
This is, well, actually, it's not. I could. Yeah, it's 74 pages.
Okay.
So there will be a test next week. This is a hugely controversial issue, but I do believe, this is my opinion, this is my opinion, it was in my paper, I do believe that when a state is unable, and the government of Lebanon said that they were unable, they couldn't do anything about it. Now I realize Hezbollah actually is a political party within Lebanon, so it's not quite as much of a non-state actor, but they don't technically control the government of Lebanon. But what the Lebanon government said was, we can't control Hezbollah. And what Israel said in response was, well, okay, well, we're going to give it a shot. Because they are firing rockets. Now again, this is not a humanitarian issue here. They are firing rockets and they are killing us. Now this is a complicated, the relationship between Hezbollah and Israel is extremely complicated, and no side really has clean hands. Okay, but Israel's concern was, we're being fired upon, our citizens are being killed and injured, the government won't do anything about it, we are going to fire rockets into Lebanon. Now, this raises another issue, and that is, and this is a repeat of what we discussed earlier, does Israel have carte blanche permission now to do whatever they want, since presumably they have a just cause?
No, they have 5 other issues to deal with.
And they have use in bello.
Right,
What about firing on civilian areas?
Sure.
You know. And this, in fact, and I want to talk about double effect for the next 2 minutes. All right, double effect. The issue of double effect essentially is this. St. Thomas Aquinas says an act can have 2 consequences, one of which is intended and one of which is unintended. All right, now we're talking about, I think, collateral damage. He never uses that term because that's a very modern term. But what he says about double effect is that it matters what the ruler's intent is. If the ruler's intent is to inflict damage, to include damage on those who are innocent, then you do not have a right intention. Right. But on the other hand, in war, those who are innocent are likely to be slain, and that is essentially what Aquinas says. And it is a terrible truth of the evil reality of war. But Aquinas talks about this idea of double effect. And we may pick up next week and talk about double effect just a little bit, because I do think it's really fascinating. We didn't get to it. But let me say this about Aquinas and what we talked about today. There will be an outline posted. There will not be a test next week. There will be an outline posted on the All Saints website. It's now under the Sunday School link instead of under the Documents link. And I hope to have this video up on YouTube by, in 2 or 3 days. But does anybody have any last-minute questions about Aquinas?
I'd like to get into this a little bit next week.
I think so too. I think you're right, because we barely touched Aquinas.
And because so much
What
of
do
what
y'all
he
think?
says is applicable to, current wars or within the past century.
Right. Why don't we do this? Why don't we do this? I've just changed the lesson for next week. Take a look at the Aquinas outline, because we barely touched Aquinas. We will start with him next week, and maybe I'll end the class with a real quick overview of those who were influenced by Aquinas afterwards, and try to keep us on track, but we won't discuss in detail post-Aquinas philosophers, because I do think that Augustine and Aquinas are the most important, and then we can zip forward to chaplains and other things like that. How does that sound? Okay. All right, thanks, y'all.